my name is Rusty Coons, and I have Frank Janicke with me from the Men of Fire, and we're going to talk
How
about
you
Frank's
doing?
history. How you doing, man?
Good, good.
Good. So we're going
Good
to
to
talk.
see you.
I want people to get to know a little bit about you here, man. I've known you for quite a long time.
Mm.
I first met you at various events around Orange County, and you used to come to a lot of illusion events that we had
Right.
at my shop. And you guys are great, man. You're always there. You always support all the charities around, and you go around and support everybody's events. You know, it's just a great group you have going on there. So let's go back to your childhood when you first got into motorcycling.
Okay. Well, that's going back quite a ways. I don't want to date myself, but no, I was always fascinated with anything on two wheels. My dad had this motorcycle. He poked around on the streets, there in Lakewood, California. We'd sneak over and he'd ride over in the what's now El Dorado Park area in Long Beach and ride trails, and I would ride with him. When I was about 8 years old, I started riding up from, by myself and learning the shift. And of all things, I learned on an old Harley Davidson 90. Uh, I don't know the history of the bike. All I know is it seemed like everything was backwards compared to how it is now. But over the years, I've had multiple motorcycles, dirt bikes. I raced anything that I could, whether it was Grand Prix, a little bit of motocross. Um, ultimately on the street, I picked up a 3-cylinder Kawasaki triple, and that was my ripping around town bike. And this just kind of kept going. It just never stopped. And here I am today, riding in a motorcycle club of 100% professional firefighters that I helped create. And it's just, I guess I can't say it's a sickness, but it doesn't go away.
When you were back there doing the dirt bikes and stuff, you learned a lot of good skills you could translate onto the street, I imagine,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like when you get in slippery surfaces, sand, ice, dirt, oil on the road and all that, you know how to handle it when you get crossed up. I think that's really important when you get that kind of training ahead of going on the street. It can help save your life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've talked to quite a few people, and that topic has come up before. It just on the street, especially like here in Southern California, pretty busy. If you're in LA at all, uh, having a motocross or a motor dirt bike background really will add longevity to to
Yeah,
your
when you get in
riding. I
this
just
situation.
keep it simple. Yeah, because there's a lot of slippery parts. It doesn't rain here, and when it does, everything turns to butter. It's just slippery out
Yeah.
there. Um, like construction all the time, gravel in the road, sand. We have everything here, and if you can't handle your bike and you panic easy, you'll probably go down.
And if you don't have that experience getting your bike sideways, it's going to be, scary for you when you're out there
Right.
on the road in a situation, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's a fact.
What about on the 405 freeway, man? Is that insane or what? You know,
What part?
we've got the diamond lane over there. You got wall to wall traffic moving 2 to 5 miles an hour. And the best gap to take is over in between the diamond lane and the fast lane.
Right.
It's the widest, most open. But a lot of the time, riders get out there and they see it wide open like that for a quarter mile up ahead, and they just blast through there like there's no traffic. But they don't understand these cars that are going 5 to 25 miles an hour. They're going to cut in front of them sometimes, and they're not going to be able to stop.
Right.
So, I see that all the time. Guys come up behind me real fast in that spot, and I let them go around me. But what I do is I keep my speed where if anybody in front of me pulls out, cuts me off on purpose or by accident, I can stop.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys get taken out that way.
Yeah, and I get it too. Like I lane split, and I can appreciate the fact that they've done so much work on the 405 that we now have a little bit wider lane than we used to have, as you remember back in the day. So they are improving it, but it still doesn't mean you could just rip down that lane. You got to be reasonable. You got to have that reflex time if somebody does come over. Whether it was on purpose or whether they just not paying attention on their cell phone or the driving a Prius or something. Um, I kid, but that's to be the one car that always gets you is the Prius.
Yeah,
But
it's like
yeah,
one
so
you don't plan for it. I mean, no matter how skilled you are and how cautious you are, you're still I mean, at any time you could get taken out by something that nobody can control.
absolutely. And I'm I'm a firefighter here in Orange County, and so my stations run up and down that freeway. So I've seen quite a bit of uh I've seen a lot of accidents over the years. I'll just leave it at that. And so
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate. So I see both sides of it. Like I have this fixation, this need to ride, for my own well-being at times. But then the other side is I see the downside, when something does happen, it's pretty, it's humbling, it's a shame,
Yeah.
the traffic and when somebody goes down, so, but,
I know that failure to negotiate a turn is the biggest killer.
okay.
And
I agree.
it's something, a lot of people, on ramps, they want to get up to speed too fast, while they're in the curve, and they end up
Right.
and they have those curbs on the on ramps. So you hit the curb and the bike's going to go over. And so a lot of those guys, they get crushed, by their own motorcycle. You just have to gauge it, keep the speed low enough around the curve when you're merging, and then get up to traffic speed and watch that traffic, and don't merge way too fast, and definitely don't merge way too slow. And then get your speed as you get on the freeway, but don't come on there like blindly like that. And a lot of guys end up getting taken out that way too. You know?
Right. Yeah. One of the things I think even with me, like I have like 4 different bikes right now, all Harleys. Um, every time I got one, I take it and I go somewhere by myself or just where it's wide open, and I kind of crush the brakes. I mean, crush it. Like see if it's going to skid, slide, see where the tires are at, and just kind of get that feel. And if people aren't out exercising and know the capabilities of the bike, they just panic. It's a heavy bike. They come, they get a little slide, they give up. They panic and ditch it when they don't really need to. Uh,
Yeah, that's a really good technique you got there. I agree with that
yeah,
100%. When you get a different bike, check the braking, know the limits of the braking, and know the limits of everything, acceleration, turning, all that, so you know what it feels
absolutely.
like and know what you're capable of in a situation.
Right, right. Yeah.
So you did the thing with the dirt bikes, and then you got on the street. What year did you get on the street?
Um, I kind of snuck on the street a little bit early. I actually, I had an older brother, and when he got his license, his picture license, I took his permit, which is just a piece of paper, and I already had a bike, so I just started riding with that.
I remember
So
that.
yeah, I
So
was
you
about
take the
50.
written, and you got your permit.
Yep.
Yeah,
You only have to be 15.
yeah.
So I was probably not even 15. Uh, but I was out doing my thing. So later I get my license. So um, my first bike, I didn't have a car. I probably had 7 motorcycles before I had my first automobile. So I had my KZ 1000 Z1R. I don't have a picture of it here. But I had that, and that was my bike year round, 365, rain, shine, cold. I didn't have a car, dates. If I had a date, it'd be on the motorcycle. Like that was it. So I lived on a motorcycle for years, and that was a good time. That I pretty much that was the beginning of my street time. I was just before 16. I've been on the street ever since.
And
Yeah.
then after you got out of high school, what? Tell us a little bit about your military background before we get into the motorcycle club.
Oh, I did the Navy thing, the Navy Seabees, mostly reserve time, and that was later in life. I kind of got on with work, started a family. It wasn't planned, but my wife and I had our first child when we were dating, and then later we would get married and have a couple more kids. I felt the need to serve the country from an early age. I just didn't do it right away, so before I aged out, I ended up uh, joining the Navy when the construction battalion, the Seabees, out of Port Hueneme. Did a couple deployments, just short ones, some missions, specific stuff that needed the building and the skill set that our group had, and so that was my short run at the United States Navy.
Were you
But I'm
involved with firefighting in the military at all, or was that after?
It's funny, the Navy. When you say firefighter in the Navy, everybody since the disaster out at sea when the firefighters got hurt or killed, and nobody knew how to fight fire way back when on one of the carriers.
Mhm.
Every sailor's trained at firefighting, so that's part of your indoc when you go through all the training they give you. Part of it is firefighting. So no, that's not what I did there. I was a builder, and but yeah, we're all technically fire trained.
Did that kind of help grease the wheels a little bit when you wanted to go toward civilian firefighting?
No, that I think I already had my foot. I was kind of pointed that direction already. My uncle was a LA City firefighter, and I looked up to him always, and then he got into arson and then became this, senior arson investigator and had some high profile um, things they even made movies out of, Point of Origin, that Glendale guy. And so I always watched him. That was the positive role model for me to go down, pursue that. And so I started as a
Good.
part-time fireman or paid call, they call it. And then later I would uh, get hired full time.
So then, after you became a fireman, how long was that before you got a Harley after that?
Um, well, I had young kids, so motorcycles weren't part of it. And
Sure.
then, and my wife knew I was away from bikes. I mean, for years I didn't have anything. And then one day she said, "Oh, we should get dirt bikes or something for the kids, maybe, because they're kind of, we should get dirt bikes or something for the kids, and because that way we can go out." I think she turned around, all she saw was taillights. I was gone, came back with a trailer, CR 250 XRs for them. I didn't blink, and we're back on dirt bikes and riding again. And after a couple of years, I bought the Street Glide when it came out, 2006, and that bike was beautiful, at the time. And that was officially when I got back into Harleys, 2006.
How long after you got back riding again with a Harley did you start the club after?
Well, in 2006, I would ride places a lot of times by myself, and then I would run into other firefighters. And I ran into a group that was wearing a patch. It said firefighter MC on the back, but they were a national club. They're out there, but just anxious to be identified as a fireman and wear a patch. It's kind of a kook. You know,
Yeah, the
I
brotherhood, all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be part of something. And then we would ride, and then ultimately all the many chapters left that club just because of just political reasons, I guess.
Hmm.
But we would help start another club in 2010, and then we did a name change. I'll leave it at that in 20, probably like about 2013 or 14, and we became the Men of Fire. And the West Coast kind of branched off from the other club, and we had about 5 chapters. We did things a little bit different out west. Things happened a little sooner than they did, back east in some cases, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. Like, hey, let's just do our own. It'll be West Coast based. Keep the politics out of it, and that was the beginning. And now where we go, it's like now we're in Texas and Chicago Fire and Virginia, Washington, we're all over. And but it's all the same thing. Every member is a professional, career active or retired firefighter. And the reason we are so strict on that is because I feel the professional firefighter carries himself differently. He has a lot to lose. It's a hard job to get. We're proud of our jobs, but it's a lot to lose. So we don't need anyone. We don't need people
Sure.
out getting drunk and acting like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, the
a-holes.
other good thing is when there's an accident on the road, man, I know people are glad to see you guys.
Oh, you bet.
I know
Uh,
I'd be.
I could tell you that. I mean, we lost count of the stories where, you'll be out in the middle of nowhere, traffic's backed up, we split lanes, get to the front, TC, there's no emergency personnel on scene, and we're it. And so we just kind of it's just we'll just go same thing. We'll use bikes. We'll block traffic. What we call scene safety. We'll try to create it the best we can with our bike. Somebody's usually on the phone, and they're painting a perfect picture of what's happening and the resources we need. And then we have medics. You know, most of the guys are medics, or you know, all of us are at least EMT level, and so we just go right to work doing whatever we can and what needs to be done. And then when the professionals get there, you know, the firefighters and you know CHP or police or wherever we're at, we can give them a professional pass along, and then we just kind of get on our way and you know feel
Nice.
like we did a
Are you
job.
guys carrying road flares and all that?
No, no. Chase trailers. If we have a ride where we have a trailer following us, then they're equipped with
With all that?
tools
Yeah.
and flares and stuff like that. But usually they're stuck in the traffic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But we've had a couple. We've had a couple good ones. I personally had. I was in the middle of nowhere, just riding, enjoying it. Windy day out in the middle. I didn't even know what state I was in. It had to be Arizona, and a car that was way ahead, and I was kind of just slowly catching him. He just kind of went off the road, overcorrected, just as I was passing him. And I'll be down with this guy. When as soon as he left the road, he's just full on NASCAR rollover, like nothing I've ever seen. And it seemed like he's 20 feet from me. And I was trying to stop my bike because of the debris. And I turn around, go back, and little engine fire, car's on its side, windshield wiper scraping. It's like out of a movie. But I'm by myself in the middle of nowhere, and there's an elderly gentleman in there, you know, conscious hurt, and I was able to help him out, help with that. It was one of those car dashes, you know, that what do they call OnStar? Start talking like the commercial. It was almost like a test, you know. The whole thing was like a scenario, but it started talking, saying they detected an accident. I said, yeah, here's what happened. Here's what I need, and I stayed there
I'll
until
be glad you were there.
oh, it's just one of those things, you know. It's just, and then I ended up becoming good friends with the family, you know, because they reached out and emailed me, and so it was kind of it was good. It was I felt
What do
like
you
I
think happened?
needed to be
Did
there.
he ever tell you what caused him to do that?
I saw what happened. It was just like you know when you cut through Palm Springs and some of those
Yeah,
areas,
real
they
windy.
get those V's, they get that eddy, just that like it's like a Venturi, and you just go and all of a sudden you're, it was it was like that. He was getting blown all over because I was getting blown over. It's sand, and
Yeah.
he had a little car and he was just cruising down this road and he kept blowing and he just overcorrected, left the road,
Uh, yeah.
and it was just an
Overcorrected.
innocent thing. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't drinking. Um, he was. I had been catching him slowly for a while, and I could see that he was getting blown around in the wind. But it was just that's just one of many. You know, that stories I could tell. You know, the club nationwide could tell that story 10 times over. You know, 20 times over, dozens of times. You know, the guys stop, and that's just
So tell me a little bit about the charity work you guys do.
um we didn't start the club for charities. We started so we bunch of like-minded guys could kind of hang out together, proud of our profession, go places, and have buddies that you know are true brothers. Uh, a lot of the rides we go to, you know, from having a shop, you know, illusions and stuff. A lot of them are poker runs or events, and a lot of times they raise money. So we started supporting quite a bit of runs that had to do with anything, you know, military, um, just anything, cancer, blood drives, anything. And then we started having our own. As we got bigger, we started putting on our own rides. And, you know, we've done rides like Wounded Warriors. We did an event for them, donated some money years back. A big one for us. Now we have a small chapter in Arizona, but the big thing is they have a river fund. It's veterans that have fallen on hard times there, and we're one of the biggest ways that they get money once a year. And it's this small chapter, one of the smaller chapters. These guys have raised like $150,000 by themselves over the last 8 years or
Wow.
so, and every penny goes to them. And this is that's like just them. That's great. We
Big
have our
deal.
own event, SoCal. We do a 9/11 event. We do a spring fling. We'll do poker run. Washington does something for, you know, the Burn Foundation for their children up there. And I mean, every chapter, I couldn't name them all. Like I just wouldn't know. But that firefighter cancer networks, um, honor guard, widows and orphans, LA County. We just presented a check to Kevin Wojak, you know, the Granite Mountain 19, the kids, the young guys that burned up, that had that tragedy in June. It'll be 10 years this year. Uh,
Hmm.
our LA County chapter just raised a few dollars for them and gave it to the dad, and he runs an Explorer Foundation in his son Kevin Wojak's name, and he's been doing great things. He's got a fire museum. It's just we've lost sight. We kept track, that would have been it'd be quite a long list. We probably
Yeah.
should have, but like I said, we didn't get in the game, for the accolades. We just happen to be in position to do things, and we do it because it's the right thing to do, because we can.
That's great. What about like annual runs? Does your club get together nationally once a year or something?
Yeah, we have we call it national rallies, and it's a chance for all of us to get together. And even if we don't really have a national rally, somebody's going to Sturgis, or we're going to Colorado Springs. There's a firefighter memorial in Colorado Springs. We send we usually have attendance there. This Up at Sacramento, we have the California State Firefighter Memorial. We'll be up there. So we have events that happen every year, and it's just a matter of who goes, and there's always numbers somewhere. We just got back from Bullhead, like Laughlin City, the Laughlin River Run kind of died out, and so Bullhead's trying to get it going. So we got back from there probably a week ago. About a month ago prior, we started off at Arizona Bike Week. We go out there, beautiful riding,
Yeah.
and we just, and whoever, they know we're going, so people come from Texas, whoever has the time off. The hard thing is many of the work people are still working, and a lot of the departments are short staffed. So it's kind of like a club that there's no way that we'll ever all be in one place at one time.
Yeah, because you're busy. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the guys are still working, and we just can't get off work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you got a great thing going on, and I'll tell you what. I know there's a lot of people that are happy to see you guys when you show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say, a shout out for anybody or anything?
No, when we started this thing, like I said, we didn't start it for fundraising. We had to ask a lot of questions, a lot of people in that world, make sure we did it right, paid the right respects, and we just didn't want to step on anyone's toes. And I feel like this many years that we stayed neutral, right down the middle. We have a good relationship with all the local clubs. We have, it's just been a really good ride, and people have been respectful of us, and we appreciate that, quite a bit. I know that when we started off, we know some folks over at Russ Brown, Sean, Chuck, Wendy, and they helped us. They helped us with graphics, with artwork. When we put on a ride, a poker run, they usually provide the artwork for us, and they have the great artists, and they're always anxious to help and sponsor our events any way they can. So they've been amazing. So
yeah, they're the best. They've always supported everything that I've done, and multiple other organizations. I mean, just great people.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, and I don't think they've ever turned us down. Every time that we've called and asked for help, they just stop everything and what can we do? And we appreciate that. We've had them at a couple of our Christmas parties. I won't go into Chuck and Wendy. Couple good times. I could party. But we got clubs. We got people that help us out. Factory 47. They're like family down the road, and they help us out with equipment and bars and same thing. Anytime we pick up the phone, they just stop. They're doing, what can we do for you? And we appreciate that. So we've got some good sponsorship along the way. They're not really sponsors, but I call them sponsors because they're just good supporters. And we couldn't do that if we didn't have the blessing of the big clubs. Like, hey, you guys can go. We appreciate you. Just stay in your lane. and we've been doing that. I think we did a good job, but I have a ton of great people in the club. But it's good mentally. It's been great for us. There's a lot of guys that have been on the job a little too long, or they've seen some bad things. And I tell you what, a fireman will only talk to another fireman. They won't talk to a counselor. And this club provides that. And we did start it for that reason, but I can't share the stories, but there's been some guys that were in bad places, dark places, and this club is what saved them. The motorcycles, the men of fire, the brotherhood, the fact that people would drop things and listen and be there for you. It's
what it's all about.
Blessing. Yes, it's been amazing. So I'm proud of the party.
I'm going to wrap it up here, but thank
Yes,
you
sir.
very much for taking the time out.
Hey, thanks for
And
reaching out.
I wish you the best, man. And my hat's off to you guys. You
Yeah,
guys are great people. I
thank
love
you.
what you're doing, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, man.
Yes, sir.
I'll talk to you later.